Welcome to A Learner's Journey. My name is Molly Sanders, and the goal of this podcast is to inspire and motivate you by connecting you with a variety of passionate horsewomen and men who have dedicated their lives to helping horses and their people. I'm grateful you're here. Welcome to part 2 of my interview with Kristi Smith. If you haven't had a chance to listen or watch part 1, I would recommend that you start there because we refer to a lot of the things in that part. And there's a link to it in the show notes. In this part of the interview, we explore Kristi's new chapter as a Happy Horse, Happy Life instructor. She shares with us quite a bit about the program and how it's different from the Parelli program and how it also is complementary. She also shares about her new book, as well as ways that you can learn with her virtually and in person. I think you're going to enjoy the second part of the interview. This past year, it was just almost a year ago, or no, it was a year ago. You decided,
a little over.
because it ended up that we made this decision on the same day without knowing that we were both doing
we didn't know.
this. So you decided to not be a Parelli instructor anymore, and then soon after that, you joined Linda Parelli with her Happy Horse, Happy Life program. And I know a lot of folks are curious about that program and how it's different, and then also how they complement each other. So what's the experience been like, and what could you share about it with people?
Sure. It's been a great experience. I feel like, I've been a student of Linda since 2004. My first Parelli, student experience was with Linda at a tour stop in Council Bluffs, Iowa. Maxie was 2. And I could not get her to go. And that's what our lesson was about. And that's where it all started for me. So, she's been my go-to experience for horsemanship for a long time. I've had lots of other really great mentors, both in and out of the Parelli program as well. But she's kind of been the base of everything I've learned and explored for a lot of that. And having her be in a position now where she can take everything that she's learned over the last, whatever it's been, 30, 35 years, and then interpret it her way and not need anybody's permission or, spin or, polish on it or whatever. Like it's completely from her and her experiences and the way that she sees things, has been really exciting to watch. There's parts of that are arduous, right? We're supposed to have 10 modules by now, and we only have 5. But she's literally starting from scratch and very deliberately trying to make something that's uniquely her own. So that, of course, is going to take time. But, Linda is more of a teacher than she is a horseman. And she's pretty dang good with horses, right? But her passion is actually for teaching. And so everything that she's developed in the last year and a half has been around how do I help more people have more joyful experiences with their horses. And, her focus has been on not as much of what do we do, but how and why do we do it, and helping people understand that things like connection can be taught, right? A lot of people have the perception that, that it's this mystical thing that either you have it or you don't sort of belief. And a lot of times if the program that we're following is task-based, we end up doing a lot of things that push our horses away from us. And then we wonder why we can't get them to come back. Or, we wonder why they look out when we send them on a circle and things like that. So, that's the base, that's the foundation. Everything begins with connection. And I love that that's step 1. If you don't have that thing, then nothing else is really going to go very well for you. And it builds on itself from there. And it builds in a way that always puts your horse's willingness first, not just can they get it done, but how and why are they doing it? And, or if they're not, why, and, let's give them a better deal. And it's right out front. It's not like this thing that happens as a byproduct. Eventually you'll figure it out because of the system. Mm-hmm. It's the first thing that gets taught. And, I just feel like, everything that I've learned in the last, 25 years studying horsemanship, it now is actually starting to make more sense. It's easier to teach. It's less, there's fewer tasks in the list that like things to get good at. Mm-hmm. And it ends up being a lot more like applicable to, no matter what thing you want to do. So, mm-hmm. Over the years, Parelli sort of became a discipline, right? Mm-hmm. It became almost, like I'm a dressage rider, I'm a reiner, I'm a cutter, I'm a jumper. Oh, I do Parelli.
Right.
Like it was a separate thing from all these other things. And so, so if somebody came into the program and, oh, I'm a jumper, how does this apply to me? It was hard to make those connections. It didn't, it wasn't like a natural blend.
Right.
I know now that they're, they do blend, but, mm-hmm. If you were new into the program, it'd be hard to see how they can, support each other. Where Linda's program, I think, would be an excellent, combination with the Parelli program. If everybody could learn to play nice. Mm-hmm. But, I have been forever and will always be wildly impressed by the sequence of the Parelli program. The mm-hmm. way that, step one, this, and then that, and then this and that. And then by the time, you get to level 4, if you've included the psychology, right, you have a really well-rounded foundation on your horse, and you can go do any of those things you want to do.
Right.
So I feel like if Parelli is the what that you want to do, if you do it in conjunction with happy horse, that happy horse is the how and the why you do this what, mm-hmm. those two things together would be, I'm already experiencing it, right? Mm-hmm. Maxie's, my level 4 horse, she does all the what's, mm-hmm. Which probably wouldn't do all the what's right now. She's kind of fat, but if she was fit enough, she could do all the what's even at 20 years old. But now that I'm filling in some of these little bits and pieces around just core behaviors like connection, relaxation, and responsiveness, it's making those level 4 things even more special, right? That, we're getting good flexion now and less resistance and better expression and all of those things. So I think that they would go really well together, mm-hmm. And maybe someday after the smoke clears a little bit, we can learn to play with each other a little bit better. But I think they would go really well together.
Right. And I think it's cool too, because, a lot of people that are listening to this are students of Parelli and have been, following the levels program. And I think it's really helpful to hear that it's not a replacement. It's not like, oh, okay, do away with that. It's no good. It's like, it's an amazing program. Keep going. And this can take it even further.
Right.
Like,
I think that, yeah. Well, for me, like one of the biggest pieces has been to get this horse to level 4 was no small feat, mm-hmm. right? Like to get a short-haired mule to level 4, mm-hmm. not the easiest thing. Now that I have horses that are easier to motivate, I'm like, mm-hmm. holy crap, I made it hard on myself. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that I'm most proud of with her is that even before Linda's program, she still would meet me at the gate and she still played with me, right? Mm-hmm. She had good expression and didn't like see me and go, oh God, here she comes, right? Mm-hmm. And that happened a lot with people who were ambitious about getting to level 4, that by mm-hmm. the time they got their horse to level 4, they often sold them. That happened a lot in the day, right. Because the journey to get there was so arduous and difficult that by the time, it was achieved, the partners didn't want to be together anymore.
Right.
And I feel like if you got there in conjunction with the Happy Horse program, you could get there still in love with each other, and be able to use all that really great experience and knowledge, and take it even further,
Right.
versus like, I don't want to play with that horse anymore because it was just too hard.
Right. That's really great. Because one of the things that I've been curious about, like you mentioned, with Linda's program, the first module is connection, which is amazing. But for someone that's either, they're just starting out, or they're brand new to the program, and that, they don't know, they haven't used a stick and string, or, they don't know any of the games, any of that. Would they be able to be successful in Linda's program, or do you feel like they need an additional piece?
That, and Linda's aware of that her program isn't very well suited to those people that, like, an adult, it's my first horse, I've never held this rope or this stick before. Nobody does that better than Parelli. That, they already have it nailed. There's no reason to go reinventing the wheel.
Mm-hmm.
And I have more than once, many times, over the last year, recommended those people. I'm like, listen, I'm not the right instructor for you right now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't teach that program anymore, but
Mm-hmm.
here's a list of people who do. You should really go and gain some of those basic skills first.
Right. I think that's really great. And that then those folks would feel safe to then come back and be ready to learn those things. That's very cool. How, you might have already answered this a little bit, but I'm going to ask you anyway, like, how are you seeing it help the students, that, because you kind of have the benefit probably of a lot of your students you were leading through the Parelli program, and probably are fairly advanced in the program. Now you're bringing what Linda's teaching. How are you seeing it benefit them?
I think that the most important thing for me with students is I want people to be independent of me. I don't have the kind of business where it even logistically is very realistic for, weekly lessons or anything like that. I've never been like, I'm not the cute and cuddly instructor, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you sign up for one of my clinics or camps, I hope you're coming because you want to learn something and be better at the end of it than you were at the beginning of it. Now, I hope we have some fun while we do it,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not my goal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, actively trying to not be fun, but at the same time, my goal is for people to have skills that they didn't have before they came, or at least have access to them, a pathway to get to those skills. And so, I always assess my effectiveness or success as a coach by, what people are able to do when I'm not there. And that Linda's program is perfectly laid out for that kind of teaching, right? That's exactly how it is designed. Is, that's what we're all hoping for, is that, that your online studies kind of, can sustain you in between lessons, and lessons don't need to be weekly in order for you to feel satisfied or successful as a student. And I think that people do a lot better when they know why they're doing what they're doing, right? And so I'm the kind of puzzle solver I am is often reverse engineering, right? So here's my goal. I tried it, and it sucked. Okay, now let's figure out why it sucked. Like what about it sucked, and what pieces are missing, and how can I pull that piece out here, fix it, and then put it all back together. And that's just how Linda's program is designed. So the place to start is the core behaviors, being responsiveness, relaxation, and connection. So I think that a lot of the time it's pretty easy if, with just a little bit of coaching for you to be able to go, you know what, the reason why that didn't work was because my horse was dull, or because my horse was tight, or because my horse was looking for a way out. And then you go to that module and you go, oh, these are the strategies I use to get my horse more responsive, to get my horse more relaxed, or to get my horse more connected to me. And so I'm going to make a program of whichever piece is the problem, 7 to 10 days, two or 3 weeks. I'm only going to do that thing. And then I'm going to try my puzzle again and see how it works. And you might find, well, I fixed the connection, but now he's dull.
Mm-hmm.
And you can, keep hashing it out that way. And then, layer upon layer after that, after you get those 3 core behaviors working, then the rest of them are pretty sequential to, build in a really strong, teachable horse. It's not necessarily like once you get through all 10 modules, like you're ready to go do a sport. But what you have is a horse who's ready to go learn any sport you might want to learn. Like it's just a high school education.
Right.
And,
that's really
Parelli could be that sport.
Okay. That's really great. Cause what I'm hearing you say is that it's like, if you have a task, like trailer loading or flying changes, or, fill in the blank.
Yeah.
With Parelli, it's very task-based, right? Which is one of its strengths, because it gives you things to do, right? But what I'm hearing you say is that it then helps you take that task and figure out, why is this not working? And then what do I do about it? Yeah, exactly. Well, exactly what you just described. And then I'm going to take these strategies and apply it back to the task, and voila, have the task, not just the task completed, but have a happy horse, responsive, connected, relaxed horse doing the task. Yeah. That's really cool. Which Parelli has in it, right? It's woven in, and a lot of it thanks to, what Linda shared. She is Parelli, right? She is a big part of the program. But what I'm understanding is that, she's just taken that and, made it, like you said, her own, and in its forefront. And so that's really exciting. And now it's time for a short commercial break. It's hard to believe that it's been almost 2 years since I embarked on this new adventure of putting together virtual clinics. They've become such a special way to study with a variety of horsemen and women from no matter where you are in the world. I'm excited to let you know about the newest virtual learning opportunity coming your way March 19th. Raising the Bar virtually is a chance for you to learn with 2 of the most dedicated and accomplished horse developers I know, John and Kathy Barr. In this 3-week interactive clinic, they'll introduce you to a framework of 5 key ingredients to have with your horse while riding. Not only will you learn how to practice these key elements, but you'll learn why they're important and how they can inform you about your horse's mental, emotional, and physical state. You'll build more refined communication while riding and a better understanding of how to improve for the future. You can learn more at shinealightproductions.net. I hope you'll join us. And now, back to the interview with Kristi. So you mentioned your book, and we talked a while back, and we were both working on, I started helping a little bit with the book, and I was like, I'm out. I can't do it. It's too big. It's overwhelming. Yeah. I've only written like 10 pages and I thought I was done. And I'm so impressed that you completed it, that you took it on. It's such a ginormous undertaking. And it's your second book, right? Because you have another book about your story that is out. So I'll make sure that people know about both of these and how to get them and everything. But this latest one that you collaborated with Linda on, it's emotional fitness.
Yeah. Hold on. This is
cool.
Right. It's the not for sale copy.
Okay.
But it's out now. You can get the real copies now, but this is like for me to proofread.
Oh, it's awesome.
So it's how to develop emotional fitness in horses by
Very
Kristi
cool.
Smith and Linda Parelli.
That's
I know,
so
right?
yeah.
Yeah. So it's all. Aren't you
Wow. Look at,
curious? Are you excited?
it's beautiful.
Yeah, I love it. I'm really excited.
Yeah.
It's it's been an interesting process, both with my Becoming Me is my story book about my life, but
Mhm.
um, writing something like this is a really vulnerable process, and it really, opens yourself up for criticism and ridicule and things like that. So I'm a little nervous because it's only just been released, and I've only had one person write to me about what they thought, and that was positive, so that was good. But
Good.
it was a very arduous process, and what I have to be sure that everybody understands is I didn't write every word in this book, right? So
Mhm.
a lot of it is Linda's writing, and a
Mhm.
lot of it's mine too. It's probably about 50-50
Mhm.
in this one. It did take a lot longer than I thought it would take. I think the book came out to this one, the way it's printed, it came out to 278 pages.
Oh my
So that's
gosh.
a lot.
That's a
A lot of
lot.
pages, but and some of the other manuals are more sort of like how-to manuals, so they have more like instructional pictures,
Right.
and I don't have as many pictures. That's a lot of
Oh,
words in mine.
right. And they're
So
small. They're little ones.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the font size in this one's only probably like 9 or 10, 12
Oh my
maybe.
gosh.
Yeah, so it's not like double spaced with big letters and stuff, but
Right.
I mean, everything that we talked about in the first segment of this interview is expanded on in here. And so I'm obviously passionate about it, and it's like a big deal to me, and something that I've been researching and studying for a long time, since 2005, I would say. So I'm glad to have done it. It took a year, right out about a year, to do, and I've agreed to do another one. um,
Awesome.
I don't know. I have
Huh?
started it, so that's good. So it was a lot of work for sure. I won't deny that at all. And Shane would definitely tell you, like, he was relieved when the writing part of it was done, and all it came down to was like editing and stuff.
Mhm.
Because can be a difficult person to be around when I have like a task looming over my head.
Right.
So I did sacrifice a lot of personal lifetime to get this thing out there. But so far I feel really good about it. I can't wait for more people to have it in their hands and to get more feedback. I truly, honestly hope that it helps people and horses, right? That it helps people to better understand themselves,
Mhm.
so that they can then have more empathy for their horses. It's
Right.
when we get too um, sort of disassociated from our own personal struggles and not realize how much that is affecting this, very sensitive animal. It's just a misunderstanding after misunderstanding, and everybody gets scared or frustrated, and it just doesn't have to be that way. It does take some work,
Right.
to um, get to know yourself better, and try to train yourself first, so that you can be a better trainer for your horse. Like,
Mhm.
that's, to me, um, the only way to ethically get it done.
Right. Right. Well, it's really cool. I'm excited that you completed it, and I think it is. I'm sure it's helped people already, but I'm hoping that people that are watching this will know, because sometimes when I listen to podcast interviews and people will share different things like what you did, it's like, oh, it's awesome, but I want to know more. So I'm always really
Yeah.
excited when someone has written a book, and I usually order it and read it. So I'm hoping that that's will happen, and I'll be ordering it too, because I don't have it yet. So I'm really excited about that. Can you tell what the topic is on the next one, or is that?
Confidence.
Oh,
So
cool.
so this one is just, as a more general about all emotions.
Right.
But the next one I'm gonna narrow it down to just confidence, both for humans and then for horses. So to be like, and this one is kind of too, where like the first half of it is about our awareness about ourselves and some strategies for our own personal emotional fitness. And then the second half is more about horse training.
Right.
And so then, yeah, the next one will be about confidence.
Yeah, that'll be huge. That's awesome. That's really cool. So, how can people find out about you?
My website is thecoachkristi.com.
Okay.
And that will link you to all my social media pages. But if you search Coach Kristi on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all of that stuff, I should pop up. I'm pretty sure I'll pop up.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm on all of those platforms. You can search for whatever podcast platform you use. You should be able to search for Coach Kristi. You might have to add horses, like Coach Kristi horses. For podcasts, because there's a couple other Coach Kristis out there that coach other things. Like, there's one I think that's a basketball coach. Awesome. But my picture is on mine, Coach Kristi. Okay. So I have a podcast and website and YouTube channel, the whole thing. So I'm available in all of those spaces. Awesome. And then, of course, I hope that you connect with Happy Horse, Happy Life, and that, just go to happyhorsehappylife.com. And I contribute a lot to that platform as well. So I write articles and, try to answer questions when I can and things like that in that venue as well.
That's awesome. And it's a community. Like if people are in there, they're interacting with all the instructors and Linda, and there's information that comes out periodically, or a lot, not periodically. It's
weekly. Yeah.
So really cool.
Daily really, but
yeah. And then right now you're coaching people virtually, like online. Is that right? So people can work with you that way. And then when the weather gets better, they can come to you, and you're doing a little bit of traveling?
A little bit. Yeah. Okay. So, prior to all of this, the pandemic, and also the transitions that we've been through in our organizations and stuff, all of those things caused me to have to stay home. And now I realize I want to stay home. So, I've had a good run of being, the international traveling clinician. It was fun. I don't regret a single day of it. It was a blast, and I will still do a couple here. I have, hopes to do, a few, not many next year where I'll travel. I am going to be in the Pacific Northwest most likely in July this year. So Charlie Johnson is my host there, and he's hosted me there like for 10 years. I think this year is our 10th or 11th one to do. Wow. And I just really enjoy that group there, and Charlie and Tina are, have become really good friends. And, then depending on travel restrictions, I still hope to get to go to Australia in November, but I was also hoping to go in March, and we had to push it back to November. So we'll see. But the most likely thing would be for people to join my online program. And last year I called it Internet Interns. But this year I'm calling it Head Trainer Training. So I've laid it out, and you can still participate in the program without following my little process. But the people who decided to leave Parelli for more like philosophical reasons are floundering a little bit by not having a list of tasks. So what I did was I came up with much smaller lists, and I laid it out in 3 stages. So I thought to myself, if I had someone here as an apprentice, what would I want them to be able to do and know if they were an apprentice? And then the next stage up from there would be assistant trainers. And then head trainers are people that I would trust with my horses, and which is very few. And if maybe a little bit more complicated horse came along, I would trust you to like give them a good deal, and I'd be okay with you saying that you're part of my program.
Mhm.
So so that program this year I'm calling Head Trainer Training.
Okay.
So the commitment has to be for the year. It's not, you know, a jump in and jump out kind of scenario. Like I'm not really interested in like just helping you fix a one-off. You know, if I know you already, I will, of course, but
Mhm.
I'd rather have an opportunity like to really help you make some measurable progress. So that takes a year-long commitment, but that's going to be the program that I'm going to utilize the most for teaching in this year. And then the other service that I provide, I call my personal progress program, or P3
Mhm.
for short. And that's, you know, for people who can come here and ride with me in person. So that's modeled after what it's like for me when I go to ride with Linda.
Mhm.
So the hours are the same, and the sort of the format is the same in that,
Mhm.
you know, the barn hours are from 9 to 1. We'll start each day with a chat, you know, might share some theory with you and do some simulations. And then we'll play online, but primarily as a warm up to ride, and then ride. And
Mhm.
then, you know, be done by about 1 o'clock. So it's about 4 hours worth of instruction, but, you
Mhm.
know, then that's it for the day. Cause I
Mhm.
find that when I don't want to do clinics here because then it
Mhm.
makes home feel like work.
Mhm.
And then, so if it's just like 1, 2, or 3 people here and we do 2 sessions a day, like you would in a clinic or a camp, the horses are burnt out by
Yeah.
about day 3.
Right.
So I just don't like that. I don't like that feeling. I don't like
Mhm.
doing it. It burns me out.
Mhm.
And then you know, I'm not financially in a position to just like, okay, I'm not going to do clinics anymore.
Mhm.
So I've developed a new skill set. Over the last year, um, I did some digging, you know, like what, you know, it was hard for me to not be a Parelli instructor. I
Mhm.
defined myself by that title for a long
Mhm.
time,
Right.
but letting go of that title and realizing that's not who I am. It was a thing I did, but it's not who I am.
Mhm.
You know, I'm grateful for the experience, you know, not at all. Wouldn't do it anything differently.
Mhm.
But now that that's not who I am anymore, it opens me up to, I can be a lot of things, you know.
Mhm.
There's you know, a lot of stuff I like, and I'm like, well, what do you like? Where, you know, like where do you spend a lot of time in your spare time if you're like mentally doodling?
Mhm.
What I do is I spend a lot of time on real estate websites. Um, so for the last few months, I've been taking online courses, and all I have to do now is choose a broker, and I will be licensed as a real estate agent. So,
Oh, wow.
um, yeah, yeah, I'm really excited about it. You know, Shane and I are the kind of people that, and we have been, it drives our families nuts. We buy a place like where we're at now, which we absolutely love.
Mhm.
But within about 5, 6, 7 years, we've done all that our resources will allow us to do to improve the property, and then
Mhm.
we get bored.
Mhm.
Um, so every 5 to 7 years or so, we just get itchy and end up selling it and buying someplace else that's like a fixer upper.
Uh-huh.
And I feel like maybe if I do this instead, I won't have to move in 5 years.
Right. Right.
Because what I want to do is specialize in properties like the one that we have, right? Acreages that are for hobby farmers, horse lovers, or hunters,
Mhm.
and be able to not just sell people an acreage, but also be able to, you know, give them some advice around, you know, you know, Shane could talk to him about food plots and
Mhm.
tree stands, and, you know, looking for sign and stuff like that, where
Right.
I'd speak more on like, you know what, you're going to want water closer to this barn because dragging a hose from clear over there to over here is going to really suck in the wintertime. And you're
Right.
going to need power in that building because you're going to need, you know, a tank heater and stuff like that, you know.
That's
And
really cool.
yeah, so I really want to be more than just a realtor. I want to be able to, you know, help people. You know, I think a lot of times people, especially these days, it feels like lots of people are interested in sort of like the off grid lifestyle, and then they buy
Mhm.
an acreage and go, holy crap, what did I do?
Right.
So, you know, there's a lot to figure out in that process.
Yeah.
And I'd love for it to be a little bit less scary, and I'd
Right.
be happy to help. help out with that. So yeah, probably in
That's
the next
cool.
couple of weeks, I'll choose a broker and um, hopefully get started here real soon.
That's
So
a
that's another reason why I don't want to travel, because I have this other thing now I'm going to really dive into hard. And then
right.
also having, when people come to ride with me, 2 sessions a day, then makes it real hard to squeeze in
Right.
realtor things. So
Right. So
um,
if you
adjust
want
all that.
horsemanship help, you can search for Coach Kristi. And if you're in the
Yep.
Iowa area and you're looking for property, look her up. Well, I really appreciate you spending all this time and sharing so much. I know that I have a lot to chew on, and I know people are going to get a lot out of listening to this. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. I appreciate being asked. I'm happy to be here.
All right, that is a wrap for part 2 of my interview with Kristi. There are links in the show notes for you of how to find out about the books that Kristi mentioned and how to find out about learning more with her. And I just want to say thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for listening to this episode. I hope you found some things for your own journey. And if you haven't already, make sure to either follow the podcast or subscribe to the YouTube channel, or you could do both. And a good way to stay in touch with me and find out about these podcasts and a whole bunch of other inspiring pieces of information is to sign up for my weekly newsletter, and it's called A Learner's Journey. There's a link to sign up for that in the show notes as well. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and thank you for spending part of it with us.